Mr. Green. We're going to now go to our second round. I am going to stick to the timelines on this round. We'll start with Ms. Lanstman for 5 minutes, and I do acknowledge that Ms. Roberts is here as well on behalf of Mr. Dalton. Ms. Lanstman, you have 5 minutes, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Minister, for being here. The statement says you take full responsibility for your actions, and we know that you didn't recuse yourself. We know there was a failure to recuse. We know that you further the interest of a friend to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. Full responsibility, do you think you should pay back the money? Do you think you should pay back the money to the taxpayer?
I think I answered this earlier, but I think it bears repeating. It was my mistake not to recuse, and it's what resulted in the Commissioner's finding. But it was not the work itself, which was completed. It was not that a qualified firm was hired. It was the failure to recuse. And for this error, I have said to this committee and to the House and to the public that I apologize for this, and in an effort to continue to work hard for Canadians and to make sure that this will never happen again, I have initiated strengthened protocols.
Yeah, we know what you've initiated. We know that you've apologized, but full responsibility to, I think most people would deem that to mean that you would pay back the money that not only you didn't recuse yourself for, but you furthered the interest of your best friend. So I think we'll leave that there. You had 104 staffers in communications. 4 from the exempt staff, which means they work in your office, 100 from the department from what the Deputy Minister said. They couldn't write the talking points. You said the documents that we got last night at 9:45 were fulsome documents. It didn't seem like a fulsome contract.
Is that the question?
Yeah. What if you want a question? What was in those documents that the 104 people couldn't do during that time?
With respect to the documents, I think I shared earlier with your colleague that we have and are in compliance with the motion. And in 2020, it really is all hands. It was all hands on deck. The team at Global Affairs do excellent work. They work with 3 different ministers. They also do work across the globe. And my team, of course, also does that communications work as well. But the extraordinary effort that was required at the beginning of the pandemic was such that we really needed all hands on deck. The requirements for me to share with Canadians the range of supports which go from.
I think we heard a little bit more of that. I'm gonna go on to some questions. So there was a failure of recusal to further the interest of your friend to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. In addition to the 104 communication staffer, that's 208 hands to have been able to write the talking points, which we got at committee last night at 9:45, which weren't fulsome. I have a question. You grew up in a small business. If somebody stole from the small business, you would expect an apology. You would expect a commitment not to do that again, and you would probably, in the case where it is possible, expect the person to return what they stole. Don't you think that that's the same here?
I reject that premise. No one stole. What the Commissioner found here was that I failed to recuse. He did not find that the contract amount was an issue. That was in compliance with the Treasury Board guidelines. And the work was done.
So just to be clear, so you've given a sole source contract to the benefit of your friend for tens of thousands of dollars, and just to put on the record, you do not believe that you should pay that money back, given that you broke the rules.
What I've said to this committee and through you to the public is that that I regret the error that was made. I know that I have work to do. I know that I will need to work very hard in the eyes of Canadians, and I'm going to do that, and I hope that they see this work and the work going forward as sincere on my part. I've taken steps and measures with the Conflict of Interest Commissioner to be sure that a screen is put in place for pomp and circumstance and for Ms. Alvaro.
So that's a no.
Okay, Ms. Lanstman, that's all your time. Next, we're going to go to Mr. Fergus for 5 minutes. Mr. Fergus.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam Minister, for being with us.
Your first language and one that you feel most comfortable, so I'll continue with that. Minister, you and your office were asked by this committee to provide materials to this committee, and we gave you a deadline of Tuesday to do so, to provide it to us so that we would have it in time in both official languages. You provided this information to us yesterday, well in advance of Tuesday's deadline. I'd like to just thank you for doing so, because it makes our job that much more easier to be able to have the materials in front to make this evaluation. Minister, you had spent a bit of time in your opening statement. You also spent some time with regard to answering the questions from my colleagues. I'd like to ask you a more precise question, if I could. When the Deputy Minister came before this committee, he suggested that there should be additional training. There could be additional training for staff who are involved in the contracting process. What do you think of that recommendation? Can you please be specific as to how we can make sure that the verifications now going forward will happen without a conflict of interest coming up again?
Absolutely. I agree with the deputy. I think that there should be additional training. Staff changes over. I've arranged for training with the Commissioner's office for my team. That will happen in March. And I'm also working with the Commissioner's office to strengthen protocols to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
When the Commissioner for Ethics had issued his report,